Right, so what's the difference between a healthcare surrogate and a living will? Why would you have one and not the other? Why would you have both, and how do they work? So as part of most of our estate planning document, well, really as part of all of our estate plans, we're going to work on the healthcare side of things, right? Not just who gets what of my stuff, but also the what we would call advanced medical directives. What happens to you if you're incapacitated, if you're unable to make medical decisions on your behalf? And two of those documents are the healthcare surrogate and the living will. The living will is what I call the pull the plug document. Basically, you're saying if I'm in an accident or I'm incapacitated or the doctors have determined that I'm going to be in a vegetative state and I'm really not going to have any sort of meaningful life, then the living will is going to say, listen, don't keep me on life support, right? You're making that affirmative decision right now by signing that document, and no one else can take that decision away from you or say otherwise, because the living will has already stated what your end of life wishes are. The healthcare surrogate is similar in that it's going to give somebody else the ability to make medical decisions for you if you're unable to. So this is usually not end of life situations. This is, incapacitated or possibly Alzheimer's, dementia, something like that, where you're still able to live, you're still able to have a meaningful life. You don't have capacity at that particular moment. And so the healthcare surrogate, you're going to name somebody who has the authority to communicate with the physicians, the doctors on your behalf. But the difference is the healthcare surrogate is going to say that if there is a living will, my living will supersedes the healthcare surrogate. So that way there's not a conflict. That way, if the person you've named as the healthcare surrogate, maybe he or she says, no, I don't want to pull the plug, but the living will says, yes, pull the plug, the doctors are going to defer to the living will. And so you want to make sure that if you have both of those documents, that there's no conflict between them. So which is why we would say, if we know our client's going to have a living will, then we're going to make sure that the healthcare document says, the living will supersedes the healthcare document. So you want to, a lot of people want to have the living will because they don't want to put their spouse or a loved one in that position where they have to make that decision to pull the plug. So it would just be a very difficult decision for them to make. So they have the living will already in place. So they don't have to make that decision. They've already made the decision for themselves, but they've left all those other, non-life ending medical decisions up to that person. So if you're wanting to, if you want that pull the plug document, that's your decision, I would recommend you go ahead and have the living will, and then just make sure when you have the healthcare surrogate, which I think everybody needs, make sure that it says the living will is going to supersede the healthcare surrogate document.